Mother-in-law, open the door. I came to have lunch with you all. The voice of Veronica sliced through the wood before I could take a breath. My son, Robert, instantly went pale. I saw him from the hallway, his hands trembling as he held the coffee cup I had just poured for him. He knew what she would see. The bruise on my face was still there, a dark purple mixed with a sickly yellow right under my left eye. 3 days earlier, I had fallen in the bathroom trying to reach the towels on the top shelf. That shelf Anthony always said was too high for me, but never lowered. Anthony had been dead for 2 years, and the shelf remained in the same spot, mocking my height every morning. I didn't have time to cover it with makeup. I didn't have time to invent a credible story. Robert got up from his chair as if the floor were opening beneath his feet. He walked toward the door with steps that dragged with guilt. I remained frozen in the middle of the living room, my apron still on, smelling of onion and tomato from the stew I had prepared just for him. Just for my son, because Veronica never gave notice when she would come. The door opened. Veronica walked in with that confidence possessed by people who have never had to ask permission for anything. High heels sounding like judgments against the hardwood floor. A designer purse dangled from her arm. Expensive perfume filling the space and pushing the smell of my homemade food into the corners of the house. Her hair was pulled back into a perfect bun, red lipstick, impeccable nails. I, in my stained apron and my gray hair tied up with an old rubber band, felt like a shadow in my own home. Her eyes found me immediately. They stopped at the bruise like a hawk spotting movement in the grass. Robert tried to say something. His mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water, but no sound came out. Veronica walked toward me with measured, calculated steps. For a second, I thought she would ask what had happened, that she would show even a sliver of concern. You can sit down, get some rest. Her voice was sweet, almost maternal, but her eyes were cold as steel. She touched my shoulder with a soft hand and guided me toward the sofa as if I were a frail, elderly woman who needed assistance to walk 10 feet. Robert was still standing by the door, looking away, cowardly, always cowardly when it came to facing his wife. I sat down because my legs could no longer hold me. Not from physical tiredness, but from that exhaustion of the soul that comes from years of being treated as if you are a problem someone has to solve. Veronica placed her purse on the armchair, that armchair that had been Anthony's, where he sat every night reading the newspaper with his half-moon glasses resting on the tip of his nose. She reached into her enormous bag, that bag where she always carried things whose purpose I didn't understand. Very expensive creams, leather planners, pens that cost more than my month's grocery shopping. I watched her with that mix of curiosity and terror you feel when you know something bad is coming, but you cannot look away. She pulled out a folded manila envelope, then another, then a clear folder with documents inside. She placed them on the coffee table carefully, as if they were cards in a game where she already knew all the hands. Robert finally moved, closing the door and walking toward us, but he stood behind the sofa, not daring to sit down, not daring to look me directly in the eye. Grace, we need to talk about important things. Veronica sat down facing me, crossed her legs, and that simple gesture made me feel like I was in an office being interrogated by an executive who held all the decision-making power over my life. She opened the first envelope and took out photographs. Photographs of my house, of the outside, the neglected lawn, the broken shingles on the roof, the peeling paint on the facade. Robert and I have been very worried about you. Worried. That word sounded as fake in her mouth as a $3 bill. She took one of the photographs and held it up in front of me, pointing out the cracks in the exterior walls with a perfectly painted dark red nail. This house is falling apart, mother-in-law. Look at it. The roof is leaking. The windows don't close properly anymore. The yard looks like a jungle. It's not safe for you to live here alone at your age. With your health. My health? As if she knew anything about my health. As if she had ever asked how I slept, if my back hurt, if my blood pressure pills were working. She didn't care about me. She cared about the image, the inconvenience I represented. Veronica then opened the second envelope and pulled out a sleek, colorful brochure. She spread it on the table over the photos of my decaying home. The title read, Golden Sunset Senior Living, Your New Beginning. Inside were pictures of smiling seniors playing bingo, doing yoga, and eating meals in a dining hall that looked like a 5-star hotel. We found this lovely place for you, she said, her voice dripping with false kindness. It's safe, secure, and has 24/7 medical staff. You'll make new friends. You won't have to worry about a thing. Worry? The only thing I worried about was losing the last piece of Anthony, the last piece of the life we built together. This house was more than just wood and nails. It was a living album of our memories. My son's first steps were taken on this floor. The scratches on the doorframe marked his height as he grew. Anthony and I had planted every single flower in that jungle of a yard. Robert finally spoke, his voice a timid whisper. "Mom, she's right. It's for the best. We're just looking out for you." His eyes pleaded with me to agree, to make it easy for him, to absolve him of his guilt. He was a spectator in his own life, letting his wife dictate the terms of his mother's future. I looked from the glossy brochure to the grim photos of my home. My home, it might be old and a bit run down, but it was mine. It was full of love and life, things that couldn't be captured in a photograph or replaced by a sterile room in a golden sunset facility. Veronica slid the clear folder toward me. "These are the papers for the sale of the house and your admission to the facility. We've already found a buyer, a developer. They're offering a good price." She handed me a pen, one of her fancy, expensive pens. "All you need to do is sign." The weight of the pen felt impossibly heavy in my hand. My gaze drifted to the bruise on my face, a stupid accident that had become their perfect excuse. They weren't seeing me, they were seeing a liability, a problem to be managed and put away. A quiet strength, a spark I thought had been extinguished long ago, ignited within me. It was the same stubbornness that kept me reaching for that high shelf, the same resilience that got me through the 2 years since Anthony's passing. I looked at Veronica, at her perfectly manicured mask of concern, and then at my son, hiding behind her. I put the pen down on the table, a small but definitive click echoing in the sudden silence. "No," I said. My voice was quiet, but it was firm, unwavering. "This is my home." Veronica's smile faltered for the first time. "Grace, don't be difficult. We're trying to help you. Help me?" I finally looked her straight in the eye. "You're trying to erase me. You want to sell my memories to a developer and put me in a box, so you don't have to deal with me. This house needs repairs, yes. But it doesn't need to be sold. It needs care. Just like people do." I turned to Robert. "And your father would be so ashamed. He built this house with his own hands. For us. For you. And you're just going to let her sell it? For what, so you can have an easier life?" Robert flinched as if I had slapped him. For the first time, a flicker of something shame, maybe even anger crossed his face. He looked at Veronica, then at me, then at the documents on the table. The silence in the room was thick with unspoken words, with years of resentment and cowardice. Veronica gathered her papers, her movements now sharp and angry. The facade of the caring daughter-in-law had crumbled, revealing the cold, calculating woman beneath. "Fine, stay here in your ruin. But when something happens, don't come crying to us." She snatched her purse and marched. When was the last time Veronica asked about me? It was 2 years ago at Anthony's funeral. She wanted to know where the life insurance papers were. That's it. I didn't answer her. I've learned that sometimes silence is the only defense you have. Especially when people have already written your story for you and anything you say is just noise. I looked at the photograph she'd brought. My house, but not my house. My house seen through her eyes, a list of problems and expenses, not a lifetime of memories. "We've been looking at options for you, Grace," Veronica said, pulling out glossy brochures from a folder. Pictures of modern buildings, perfect lawns, and old people smiling empty smiles for a camera. They called them senior living communities. I call them what they are, nursing homes. Places they send you when you're no longer useful, when you're in the way. When your own family finds it easier to pay for a room than to visit you in your own home. "Mom," Robert finally spoke, his voice so quiet, almost apologetic. "It's for your own good. We can't relax knowing you're here alone. What if you fall again and no one's around to help you? Fall asterisk, again asterisk?" He said it like it was a habit, some clumsy ritual I'd picked up. I instinctively touched the bruise on my cheek. The dull ache throbbed under my fingers. Yes, I had fallen. But I got up, alone, I healed, alone, I moved on, alone. Just like I've done every single day for the 2 years since Anthony closed his eyes for the last time. In the bed we shared for 43 years. Veronica just kept talking, as if Robert's words were just a scripted echo of her own. "We found a beautiful place, Grace. It has 24-hour nurses, activities, a dining hall with balanced menus. You wouldn't have to worry about a thing. No cooking, no cleaning, no maintenance, just rest and enjoy, rest and enjoy." As if my life was over. As if all that was left was to wait for the end in a room that smells of disinfectant and bland, institutional food. My hand trembled as I took one of the brochures. It wasn't age making me shake. It was pure, contained fury. Vista Hermosa residence, $500 a month, just for the basic fee. That didn't even include medication or special care. $500 that they, of course, wouldn't be paying. No, that would come from the sale of my house. This house. The one Anthony and I bought when Robert was just 3 years old. The house where every corner holds a story, every stain on the wall is a memory. Every creak in the floorboards is the voice of the years we lived here. And the house? My voice was barely a whisper. I could hardly breathe. Veronica smiled. A perfect white-toothed smile that never, ever reached her eyes. We'd sell it, obviously. It makes no sense to keep this property empty, just racking up taxes and utilities. With the money from the sale, we'd pay for your stay at Vista Hermosa for years. And what's left over, we'd keep for when you need more specialized care. Asterisk, we'd keep what's left over. Asterisk, not, we'd keep it asterisk for asterisk you. Asterisk, we'd keep it. Asterisk, as if the money from the sale of my life was already theirs. As if I was already dead, and all they needed was the paperwork to make it official. I glanced at Robert. He was staring out the window, looking anywhere but at my face. Coward. My son. The man who let his wife pull every string, make every decision, and dictate how his own mother should live out her final years. Veronica pulled out more papers. Legal documents. Small print and terms I didn't fully understand. Power of attorney, one said. Property transfer, read another. We just need you to sign here, Grace, she said, her voice smooth as silk. And here, just some formalities to speed up the process. We'll take care of all the legal stuff. You won't have to worry about a thing. She pushed an expensive, heavy pen across the table. It sat on the documents like a coiled snake, waiting for the right moment to strike. I didn't say yes, but I didn't say no. I just stared at those papers, at the empty signature lines, at the future they had designed for me without ever once asking if it was what I wanted. The bruise on my cheek pulsed with each beat of my heart, a constant throbbing reminder that I wasn't young anymore, not strong. Maybe they were right. Maybe I was just being stubborn. Veronica leaned in closer. Her perfume was suffocating. Her voice dropped to a conspiratorial whisper. Do it for Robert, mother-in-law. He doesn't sleep at night, worrying about you here alone. Just give him that peace of mind. She wanted me to sign away my home, my life, for her husband's peace of mind. The pen sat there, waiting. And in that moment, in the silence of my own home, I had to decide. Was my story over? Or was it time to write a new chapter, one they would never see coming? This is a story that touches so many of us in one way or another. What do you think Grace should do? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more. Thank you for listening. I know it's hard, but it's for the best. For everyone. That's what they said. Not for me. For all of them. For everyone. I didn't sign that day. Veronica put the papers away with a tense smile, the kind people use when they're faking patience but are boiling with frustration inside. Robert kissed my forehead before leaving. A quick cold kiss that smelled of guilt. And then they were gone, disappearing out the door, leaving the scent of expensive perfume floating in my living room. A reminder that they had been there invading, deciding, planning my future without me. I sat on the sofa until the daylight began to fade outside the window. I didn't turn on the lamps. I liked the gloom, the way the shadows draped over the old furniture and the peeling walls that bothered Veronica so much. In the darkness, my house was still beautiful. In the darkness, I could still hear Anthony's laughter echoing from the kitchen. I could still see little Robert running down the hall with his toy cars, but the darkness never lasts forever. It never does. The weeks that followed felt like living in a house that was no longer mine, even though my name was still on the deed. Veronica started visiting more often, always with a different excuse. She brought food because I looked too thin. She came to check the leaks in the roof. She was just passing by and decided to say hello. Soft lies, all wrapped in fake concern. And every time she came, she brought something with her, not gifts, but changes. One day, she arrived with a man who introduced himself as a contractor and started taking measurements of the rooms without even asking my permission. Another day, she brought a woman from a real estate agency who walked through my house with a tablet, snapping photographs of every corner, assessing my life in square feet and market value. "Grace," Veronica said, "we're just preparing the groundwork. When you decide to move, everything will be ready. Asterisk when I decide." Asterisk as if it were my decision, as if I had any choice at all. Robert came with her, but he spoke less and less. He had become a silent accessory to his wife, a man who winced when she spoke, who looked away when I searched his eyes, begging for help, begging him to remember who I was before I became just a problem to solve. One afternoon, Veronica arrived with boxes. Folded cardboard boxes that she left stacked in the hallway, right next to my bedroom door. "So you can start packing what you want to take to Vista Hermosa, mother-in-law," she chirped. "Space is limited there, so you have to choose only the essentials." The essentials. As if 43 years of marriage, 35 years of raising a son, 65 years of life could be reduced to what fits in 3 cardboard boxes. I stood staring at those empty boxes as if they were coffins just waiting to be filled. I couldn't sleep that night. I got up at 3 in the morning and walked through the house, touching the walls, the door frames, the kitchen handle that Anthony had repaired so many times I knew every one of its squeaks. I opened the closet in our bedroom and buried my face in Anthony's clothes that still hung there, searching for his scent. But after 2 years, only the aroma of mothballs and dead time remained. The boxes were still in the hallway when morning broke. I avoided them for 3 days until Veronica returned. With that poisonous sweetness she had perfected, she asked, "Have you started packing, Grace?" "The director of Vista Hermosa called me yesterday. They have a room available with a garden view. It's perfect for you, but they can't reserve it for long. There's a waiting list." "A waiting list?" As if it were a privilege, an opportunity I couldn't waste. As if other old women were fighting for the right to leave their homes, their lives, their memories, to go die in a small room with a view of a garden that would never be theirs. I started noticing other things then. Small invasions that maybe I had overlooked before, or just justified as family concern. Veronica had changed the lock on the front door without telling me. One day, I came home from the grocery store and my key no longer worked. I had to ring the doorbell of my own house and wait for Robert, who was inside installing something in the guest room, to come and open it for me. "It's for security, Mom," he mumbled. "This lock is more modern, harder to break into." He gave me a copy of the new key, but when I checked it that night, I discovered they had made 3 copies. One for me, one for Robert, one for Veronica. My house now had 3 owners, even though only one of them paid the property taxes. Then, things started to disappear. First, it was the porcelain vase that Anthony had given me on our 20th anniversary. I looked everywhere for it. "Oh, that old thing?" Veronica said when I asked. "It was chipped, Grace. I took it to a donation center. We need to declutter, remember?" She hadn't asked. She had just decided. She decided a piece of my history was clutter. Next was the old rocking chair in the living room, the one where I had rocked Robert to sleep as a baby. It was gone one afternoon, replaced by a sleek, modern armchair that looked completely out of place. The old one was a safety hazard, Veronica explained, not even looking at me. Its legs were wobbly. "I found this one on sale. A safety hazard. My memories, a hazard." They weren't just changing the house, they were erasing it. Erasing me. They took down the faded photographs of Anthony and me from the walls, claiming the frames were outdated. They reorganized my kitchen, putting everything in new, unfamiliar places, so that I felt like a stranger every time I tried to make a cup of tea. It was a slow, methodical dismantling of my world, a quiet war waged with new furniture and missing heirlooms. Every day was a fresh assault, a new rule, a new change. "Mom, don't leave the back door unlocked." "Grace, we're having the carpets professionally cleaned next week, so you'll have to stay in your room." They were turning my sanctuary into a prison, one well-intentioned, suffocating act at a time. The house was groaning under the weight of their improvements, and so was I, and I knew with a chilling certainty that if I didn't do something, I wouldn't just lose my home. I would lose myself. Thanks for listening to my story. If you've ever felt like your voice wasn't being heard, maybe you can understand. Please consider subscribing and following for more stories. It means a lot. It had been on the mantelpiece for years, and one day it just wasn't there anymore. When I asked, my daughter-in-law, Veronica, said it had broken while she was cleaning. She told me she'd thrown away the pieces so I wouldn't hurt myself. "I'm so sorry, mother-in-law," she'd said. "It was so fragile." Anyway, at Vista Hermosa, you won't be able to have things like that. It's better to lighten the load now. Vista Hermosa. The nursing home. My future, decided for me. This became the excuse for everything that followed. Next to go were the photographs from my wedding to Anthony. They were in beautiful silver frames on the dining room cabinet. One day, they disappeared. Veronica said she had taken them to be reframed because they looked old and damaged. She never brought them back. When I finally insisted, she just showed me some digitized photos on her phone. "It's better this way, more modern," she explained. "Physical images just take up space and collect dust. But those weren't just images. They were moments. Tangible pieces of my life, now reduced to pixels on a tiny screen. Then came the battle over my mother's jewelry. I kept it in a small wooden box, tucked away in the bottom drawer of my dresser. One afternoon, while I was in the bathroom, Veronica found it. I came out to see her sitting on my bed, the box open, touching each precious piece with her perfectly manicured fingers. "This is worth money, Grace," she said, her voice dripping with false concern. "You should put it in a safety deposit box at the bank. It's not safe here. Anyone could break in and rob you." I reached for the box, a knot tightening in my stomach. But she moved it away with a gentle, almost maternal motion. "Let me take it," she said. "I'll keep it in my safety deposit box until you're settled at Vista Hermosa. You won't be able to have jewelry there. It could get lost or someone could take it from you. You know how those places are." "You don't know how those places are," I wanted to scream. "Neither of us knows because I've never been to one and you will never have to be." But I didn't scream. The words caught in my throat. I just watched, paralyzed, as she took the wooden box. She walked out with the last valuable things I had left from my mother, the only tangible things that connected me to the woman who raised me, who taught me to cook, who held my hand when my son, Robert, was born. And just like that, another piece of my history was gone. Money, of course, became the next problem. I received a small pension every month, just $300. It barely covered food and utilities, but it was mine. It was my independence. Veronica suggested it would be easier if that money were deposited directly into an account she would manage. "That way you don't have to go to the bank, Grace," she'd explained with infinite patience. "At your age, walking all the way there is dangerous. I'll take care of paying your bills and give you cash when you need it. When I need it. Not when I want it." When she decided I needed it. My son, Robert, agreed with her, of course. Robert always agreed with whatever his wife said. So I signed the bank papers. Veronica framed it as a favor, a way of relieving me of responsibility. The first month, she handed me $50 in cash. "For your personal expenses," she said brightly. The rest I used to pay the electricity and water. I didn't dare ask what had happened to the other $200. I was too afraid of the answer, afraid of the argument that would follow, afraid of her calm, dismissive logic that made me feel small and foolish. My food changed, too. Veronica started doing all the grocery shopping. She'd bring bags filled with products. I hadn't asked for expensive, organic brands that she preferred, things that cost double and tasted like cardboard. When I told her I preferred to go to the corner market myself, where I'd known the vendors for 20 years, she looked at me like I was a stubborn child. "That market is dirty, Grace. The food there doesn't have quality controls. Do you want to get sick? I'll take care of it." Don't worry. Don't worry. Those 2 words became the motto of my new life. Don't worry about the money. Don't worry about the food. Don't worry about the decisions. Don't worry about anything, because you are no longer capable of worrying about yourself. My world was shrinking, day by day, decision by decision, until I felt like a guest in my own home, a spectator in my own life. The final, most devastating blow came one afternoon. I found Veronica in the room that had been Robert's when he was a child. It was a room I had kept exactly as he left it when he went to college, with his posters still on the walls and his football trophies lining the shelves. It was a sanctuary of memory. She was throwing things into black garbage bags. Quick, efficient, unsentimental movements. "This is just junk, Grace," she said without looking at me. "Robert won't want any of this. It's better to throw it away now." I tried to stop her, to plead with her, but she was relentless. She emptied the drawers, ripped the posters from the walls, and packed away the trophies. She was erasing my son's childhood as if it were a mistake that needed to be corrected, a mess that needed to be tidied up before I was put away myself. When she finished, the room was just an empty space. Bare walls and dust motes dancing in the sunbeams that streamed through the window. It felt like my heart had been hollowed out right along with it. Everything that made this house my home, everything that tied me to my past, to my family, to myself, was being systematically dismantled, packed up, and thrown away, and I was next. Thank you for listening to my story. If you've ever felt invisible or had your independence taken away, please know you are not alone. Sharing our experiences is the first step. Please consider subscribing to the channel for more stories that need to be heard. Take care.